What's going on, guys? This weekend's the big weekend. We're going to be pulling this dashboard out. I already kind of started just by popping the radio off because I wanted to see how bad they hacked up the wiring, which they did. Now, this is going to be a color swap. That's the main reason why I'm doing this. Also, because the interior no longer smells like rats, except when you stick your head up under the dash, and you could almost see where they started building nests in there with the insulation. So I'm imagining we're going to find out a lot of rats' nests and probably a couple skeletons. Another thing is I want to clean out those AC ducts because I do want this thing to have heat, and eventually air conditioning would be really nice. But for now, I just want to be able to turn the heat on and not smell, a rat. While I'm in there, they cut in some wiring behind the dash for the old alarm system. I'm gonna fix that up. And I got a stock radio harness I'm gonna splice in. That way I can get rid of all their nastiness. And yeah, hopefully by the end of the weekend we will have a red dash, and I'm even gonna work on finding a driver's door and maybe getting that tomorrow, hopefully. That way I can do the hinges and this thing can be watertight. So let's get to it. All right, glove box is out. Looks like we're at mouse nest number 1 and mouse nest number 2 up there. I keep a running tally. I really, for some reason, get freaked out by mice. So I'm gonna stick the vacuum in there and just pray to God there's not a fucking live one. All right, nest number 1 is gone. You can even see where they're starting to chew on the wires. It's a good thing they moved out. Now, I think I saw some, but I'm pretty sure I felt them go up the vacuum neck. So I'm actually gonna leave that second nest until I have a better access to it, just because it skeeves me out so bad. So we're gonna get further along. I think next I just gotta start taking out the vents in that center piece, and maybe even the cluster, and drop the steering column down. All right, so the dash is just about ready to come completely out. It's all loose. I gotta undo the wiring harness and a couple random things, but the scent is absolutely horrific. There's definitely a dead mouse in here or something. I haven't really dove too deep into that nest yet. There's another one on that side, and I'm sure all in this foam sound deadening. There's a ton of them, but it's gross. My nose is starting to clog up. It's getting disgusting in here. All right, now we got the HVAC box partially out. I'm going to be going through this, changing out the AC condenser and the heater core, changing all 3 actuators because they're a pain in the ass to do with the dash still in the car. And I'm also going to clean this out really well because I don't want this thing to smell like rat piss. So let's get this on the bench, start taking it apart, and seal it back up. Here's a further showing of why I'm going this deep into the dash. It's because look at all this mouse shit and piss. All that yellow stuff is just mouse grime. And also, if you go on the back side, nice chunk of shit hanging right off that would be pressed against the firewall. This is the kind of stuff that you would never be able to clean, and there would always be that hint of mouse, that hint of whatever kind of animal that you get in your car and you're like, oh, I wish it didn't smell like that. And on top of that, in here it's filthy 40-year-old dust. So it's just the perfect time while you're already that deep into the dash to just go through it and just make it like it came off the factory. Now, I wish I ordered new doors, but from what I could see of these doors, the rubber is still good. Usually this is all cracked and breaking away, and that's why these doors go bad. Now, they might be C's, which is a different story, but we could probably free that up. As long as they're not cracked, and I can eventually make them work. If I gotta make little plastic bushings, oh well. So, hopefully when this goes back in, it'll be like it just left the factory. We got into it a little bit. Remove the heater core. Nothing crazy going on with this. But once we get to the AC condenser, usually this screen is filthy, and that's usually the source of a lot of people's bad AC and nasty smell. And this side's clean, but then we come along to this side and we got something going on here. It's absolutely gross. And this is where a lot of the smell, once I cracked this open, a lot of the smell started appearing. So luckily we got all new everything to go back in here. So once I get a little further, start taking it apart, I'm gonna take it all down and just scrub every inch of plastic inside this thing. And also, they use some sort of sealant. I'm just gonna redo that with RTV. Just a thin coating along all the edges. Try to stay away from the door, because the last thing we need is this to seize up. But as you can see, even this door, it looks great. all the rubber is still pliable. It's not deformed. Looks like it'll seal right up. So we're gonna leave that. This is box 1 complete. This is like the center vent section and defroster. Put the new actuator on. I took it all apart, wiped it all out. The doors are a little rotty, so you can't really clean them up too much, but I took all the gunk, acorns and berries and dirt out of there, sprayed it down with this degreaser, blew it out with some air. When I smell it, it just smells like plastic and citrus, which is good. So that's the scent of that. So hopefully, once this is all done like that, I'll smell oranges when I turn on my AC. Here's a cool way to reattach the mesh screen to the new AC condenser is run a zip tie through the fins, grab another zip tie, and just slide the end on. I didn't make this idea. I saw it on the forums and in a YouTube video from the same guy. I'll see if I can link him in the description. It's a great video if you want to tear down one of these and follow step by step. He's the guy for it. So I got the box all back together. I got to go grab a new blower motor, but another thing I wanted to touch up on is the fact that it's a great idea while you're doing this to replace all the foam that seals the ducts against the vents and all those kinds of HVAC tubes. And also inside, the AC condenser and the heater core both have a foam square around them that you can replicate with this foam. Now I got this at Home Depot. It's this stuff. There's a measurement, 3/4 inch wide, 1/2 inch thick, 10 foot long. I used just over 10 feet, so I would just get 2 of these. I think I used somewhere around 12 feet, honestly. But it's cheap, it was like $5 a piece, I think. But it works good. Once it's in there, it'll compress. The original one was compressed super thin, so this 1/2 inch of thickness should be more than enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, you're just trying to get as much heat actually flowing through the vents and not leaking out. And also, when you're reassembling the box, RTV all along inside the channels where they snap together. Very thin layer, but just enough to keep some air from creeping out. Every little bit helps with these weaker, older HVAC units. Alright, the HVAC box is completely cleaned out, rebuilt, new blower motor in. I was hesitant about reusing this insulator cover, but I really stuck my nose in it, and it didn't smell like mouse, but it smelled like mold. So I soaked it really good in disinfectant and degreaser, and now it just smells like citrus, so we'll give it a shot. There was some cracks, very light cracks, nothing like crazy, but I just did a thin coat of RTV on them just to seal them up. This HVAC blower motor resistor is really compromised. This one terminal moves very easily, and it smells. It probably smells the worst still out of anything here, and I would have replaced it, but no one has it, and I kind of want to get this back in the car before the weekend's over. So now we're going to go back to the truck and start prepping the firewall. Okay, so now the remainder of the smell is probably trapped in this insulating pad. GM always had these. They all get waterlogged from leaky T-tops or windshields or, you know, gaskets, and they always smell the exact same. I'm actually going to pull this out. I'm going to wipe down every bit of metal behind it, wipe down every bit of the wiring harness that's laying around, everything over there, and disinfectant, the same citrus stuff. And then I ordered some sound deadening pads, like if you're to do like a stereo install or something, you're really into all that. And I'm just going to line the firewall with it to replace this pad. So that way I still get sound deadening, I still get some sort of insulating, and it doesn't smell like a rat's ass anymore. Alright, so I degreased everything, wiped the wiring harness down. The ECM ended up being a remanufactured unit, and this stuff is baked on. I can't get that off. But yeah, it's all painted, and I'm ready to start putting the sound deadener on, which is just this. Thinner than I thought, but it says it works, so it's better than nothing. See how it goes. Forgot to film before I put the box back in, but I got all that sound deadening in there. It's actually a really nice product. I don't know how well it's actually gonna sound deaden and insulate, but for what it does, if it at least takes some thuds away, that'd be cool. Stop some creaks, because it is a nice adhesive, feels quality. It's cheap on Amazon. But yeah, while I was doing this, number one is I lost the 2 firewall bolts. They're sitting somewhere on top of the trans. But I also noticed I had a broken ground. And this is, I believe, the back of the cylinder head to the chassis ground. So yeah, definitely need it. Gonna have to do that tomorrow. So I'm gonna hold off on putting all this back together. I at least got all the bolts back in that I have to hold the HVAC box up. So tomorrow's plan will be get the dash in, fix that ground, get all this back together. Hopefully she runs. Alright, this is the finished inside of the dash. I'm ready to put the new dash in. I did that insulation stuff all around the firewall. I don't think it's going to do much, but we'll see what it does. Better than nothing. And here's the new dash. It's this nice burgundy red. It is pretty faded. I'm hoping some kind of oily cleaner can get that up. Alright, the dash is halfway in at this point. I just got to do the small stuff up top. Got all the top bolts in, all the bottom bolts. So pretty much just lighter, cluster, center vents, glove box, and the outside vents, and it's in. Missing a couple trim pieces, but other than that, this is a pretty big pain in the ass. The hardest part is probably getting all the wiring tucked into the dash with it halfway out, and then also installing the vent on top of that wiring while the dash is halfway in the truck, and then flipping it up into place. But once it's in place, it's just lining up all the bolt holes and getting it in. So let's get the cluster in and get everything else bolted up. We'll give it a final wipe down. We'll see what it looks like. All right, the dash is in. Everything's buttoned up. I still got to get some under dash panels, and I want to get that weird cup holder that they had that hooks on under the ashtray. But for now, it looks really good. Everything's nice and tight. No cracks, nothing snapped on me, which is amazing for a dashboard from 40 years ago. It's still pretty dry, and it needs to get a nice detailing with some interior cleaner. I don't have any on me at the moment, but I also sound deadened the entire floor for shits and giggles. So once I get some armor all, I gotta start pulling the rest of the gray out. These nasty door panels. I think these are where the last of the smell is at. The good thing is I'll turn on the HVAC now and it just smells like super clean air, which is amazing for a truck that, you know, a month ago smelled like absolutely horrendous inside. So we're making progress.